Max Verstappen's chances to drive for Mercedes in 2026 have been reportedly shut down by Toto Wolff, and the Dutchman didn't keep his mouth closed. Although the circle has been narrowed in terms of Verstappen's choices if he were to leave Red Bull, the Dutchman gave a pretty clear hint about his future in F1. Could we see him move out of the Austrian squad if the new regulations turn out to be a disaster for Red Bull? And more importantly, is this the chance for Aston Martin to step in? There's definitely no doubt that Mercedes and Verstappen have created the biggest fuss in the world of Formula One, but now that seems to finally be squashed. The team principal of Mercedes, Toto Wolff, said that the direction he wants to move in under the new regulations is with Russell and Antonelli. This is a direct closing of the door for Max Verstappen. And although there weren't direct indications that the four-time world champion was going to move to Mercedes, it was still something that kept the entire F1 media on its toes. Now that Wolff has finally addressed these rumors, we can see how big of a change might be waiting for us after 2026. But in the first year of the new regulations, I don't think we should hope for major changes. Elaborating further on the direction of Max and Mercedes, as well as the saga that's been ongoing for quite some time, Wolff said discussions have been taking place over the last weeks and months, so they're all up to date. The direction of travel is that we want to continue with George and Kimi. That's the first priority. You can't look past someone like Max and the plans he has for the future. We did that, but I don't think there will be any big surprises. But that's not the end of the story. We'll get right back to this, but first, let's see what Max had to say regarding the denial of opportunity that Wolff made public. Well, I was swimming in the ocean at the time. I don't really care about those things because I went on holiday with my friends and family. And when other people are also there at the same time, that can happen. I mean, there are more people on the island than just me and Toto and the family. If you go to the same island, that can happen. But then again, this doesn't solve the mystery as to where Max is going to drive in the foreseeable future. As of now, it looks like from 2026 onwards, the Dutchman will leave Red Bull, unless something extraordinary happens and he loses 18 points to Russell in the next two races. This would drop him to P4 in the Drivers' Championship and would automatically allow him to activate his exit clause. But now that he knows Mercedes is not interested in him, or at least they're saying it publicly, and Aston Martin is committed to their lineup in 2026, will either of these two teams commit to a move? What's also interesting is that Max was adamant that the sacking of Horner had nothing to do with his decision to think about leaving Red Bull, because he's focused on finding more performance on the RB21 and potentially getting back into the Drivers' Championship fight. Still, the technical expertise in Red Bull is lacking, starting from Pierre Wacht and Enrico Balba. Red Bull did clean house, with Horner being the latest piece to drop. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's much to be done here, other than Verstappen fully focusing on the first year of the new regulations and seeing whether this team could be his home from 2027 onwards. But luckily, I think on the day, basically the day after the announcement, I was at the factory doing my simulator stuff, and you just go back to work. We have to work on performance, setting up the car here, and making sure that everything is correlated in the best way possible. And yeah, you just focus on that because at the end of the day, that's my job. But when you have Verstappen in that car, I don't think you could say they're going to be without any competitiveness. On the other hand, if you're Max Verstappen and you're not going to be satisfied with fighting in the midfield or for scrap points, you want to get out of the team as soon as possible. And the first opportunity for that would be Mercedes. We're talking about 2027, when Aston Martin could join the race for the signature of the four-time world champion as well. By this point, Mercedes and Aston Martin will definitely know which one will have the superiority edge compared to the other. And it would make life much easier for Max to choose. However, it's not an automatic choice that either team would go for Verstappen regardless of the cost, even though the four-time world champion is worth every penny of the money he'll request. But if these two teams have high-standard facilities with competitive cars, and if their drivers are fighting up front, then what's the urgent need to sign Verstappen? If Russell, Antonelli, or Alonso can fight for the championship, then what do you gain by having Verstappen when all of those championships compare to these? Other than Alonso, who's in his 40s and will likely retire after the next season. This is why the board of directors at Mercedes didn't want to bring in Max Verstappen in the first place. They brought in and raised two very good drivers in Russell and Antonelli, and replacing either one of them with an outside hire like Verstappen is just not a great idea. However, reports have surfaced that the CEO of Mercedes, Ola Kalinius, is ready to go behind Wolff's back and give everything that's in his power to sign Verstappen. At this point, it's literally a pulling rank situation for Ola and Wolff, because despite all of the technical progress that's been made back at Mercedes, Ola still wants to have the four-time world champion as the driver of his team. Nevertheless, I don't think this is going to happen. And that's also the belief of Martin Brundle, who spoke to Verstappen directly about the matter. The F1 pundit felt like the changes in 2026 won't happen, although that's not a guarantee for 2027 or beyond. Elaborating more on this, Martin said, "I think the conversation that Verstappen and Wolff held was part of what was going on. But on Thursday, Max was like, it's all about having a fast car. I just want a fast car. And I think Horner's exit means he'll now stay. I'm certain